So now I would like to show you what is the basic equation for fluid statics. There is a force because of the variation of fluid pressure, and that force clearly must be balanced by gravity. So therefore, I could write the equation as dFp plus dFb equal to 0. So this is due to pressure, which in fact is a surface force, and this is due to body force, example gravity. And we already know what this is. This would be actually rho times g times the volume of a certain element. So I could now write down this equation as gradient of P, which is, I had shown you, is the force because of the pressure, and this times OG is the equation. Okay. So the force because of the pressure gradient has to be balanced by the force due to acceleration due to gravity. So this is the basic equation of fluid statics, which of course you are all familiar with. You have actually read this in your high school physics. We can now simplify this for a certain coordinate system. So suppose my coordinate system is that this is my z axis and this is my x axis, this is my y axis, then g is minus g k. And then this equation would result, so if I call this as equation A, so A would result in three scalar equations. The first equation is del P del x is 0, so there could not be a pressure variation in the x direction. Similarly, del P del y is 0, so there cannot be a pressure variation in the y direction, but there would be a pressure variation in the z direction, and that would be minus rho times g. Okay. So one can look at the forces on a body by simply integrating these three equations. So this leads to the hydrostatic pressure distribution, which I am going to So using these three equations, I can talk about hydrostatic pressure distribution. So imagine I have a fluid and this is the free surface. So the pressure here is P naught, and let us say this is my z direction. Notice I have inverted the z direction, and let us say I have fluids of different densities. So let us say this density is rho 1, this is rho 2, and this is rho 3. And in each of these layers, the density is constant. Okay. So now by looking at these three equations, I do not have a pressure variation in the x direction. Okay. That means the pressure at any point in the plane is going to be identical. The only variation is in the z direction. So, in fact, I could plot the pressure here. So, if I looked at a pressure at this point, then the pressure here would be P0 plus rho 1 g z. So, in this layer the pressure varies linearly. So, maybe I can draw it. So, if this pressure is P naught, then this pressure value is given as P naught plus rho 1 g z1 if I call this depth as z1. Similarly, I could call this depth as z2 and this one as z3, and of course there could be more fluid below this. Now, when I come to a point in the fluid number 2, then I would have to integrate this equation, because when I integrate it I have to account for the change in density. So, the pressure would vary linearly here and it could have a different slope. So, maybe it has a slope like this. So, this pressure here at the end would be P0 plus rho 1 g z1 plus rho 2 g z2. When I go to this layer over here, then I would have to integrate starting from the value over here, and of course I could draw another linear variation. So, this would be the pressure here, and this value at the end would be P naught plus rho 1 g z1 plus rho 2 g z2 plus rho 3 g z3. In fact, if you had a situation where the density was constantly changing, then also you could integrate this equation by appropriately taking how density changes with the height. In fact, this is what is done in atmosphere, where the density changes constantly as we increase the altitude. Okay? I would now like to show you one application of the manometer. So, we use an instrument which is called a manometer. This instrument is used to measure the differential pressure between 2 points in a fluid. So, I will show you a small setup and then we will try to see how it can be used. So, suppose I have a bulb here. Let me call this as point A, and this is connected to a U tube. And this has a certain fluid in it. So, I am going to call this as point B, this one as point C, this as point D, and maybe this as point D, this as point E, and this as point O, which is open to the atmosphere. So, the setup is that there is a certain pressure inside this bulb, and that causes this fluid to take this kind of a position where this column E is at a higher level than B, and we are interested in finding out what is the relationship of pressure at A related to the atmospheric pressure. I am going to mark the different heights. So, let us say this height is H2. I will try to mark this as H1. This height between E and C, let us say this is h3, and this over here is h4. Let me say this is air and this is a certain fluid of density rho 1 and this is a certain fluid of density rho 2. So, in principle I could have 3 fluids, one of density rho 1, rho 2 and then air. So, this is quite general. Now, we can use the equation of fluid statics and try to relate these different pressures. So, let us start from this point. I already know the pressure here, this is atmospheric pressure. So, I could write down what is the pressure at point E. So, I will create some space here. So, the pressure at point E I can write in terms of pressure at point O, which is actually the atmospheric pressure, plus rho air times G times H4. That is the pressure over here. Notice the pressure at point B and D are same because we are going through the same fluid. Okay. I can also write down what is the pressure at point C. The pressure at point C could be written in terms of pressure at point E, this one, plus rho 2, this fluid is 2, times G times H3. I can write down the pressure at B, this point, as the pressure at point C minus rho 2 G and H2. But I could also relate it to the pressure at point A. Okay. So, please notice that pressure at point B is also equal to the pressure at point A if I come through this fluid plus rho 1 G H1. So, I have these 4 equations now and they kind of relate the different pressures. So, I could plug in these equations in one another and finally get an answer for how the pressure are related to each other. Okay, let us do that. Okay, so we can now substitute for these different equations and let us see. So, I have PA, this is equal to PC minus rho 1 GH1 minus rho 2 GH2. But PC I already know is this quantity over here. So, let me substitute for that. So, that is going to be equal to P atmosphere plus rho air GH4 plus rho 2 GH3 minus rho 1 GH1 minus rho 2 GH2. Okay. So, this is the relationship between the pressure inside the bulb A and the atmospheric pressure. If I knew what are the densities of these different fluids, then I should be able to calculate this. I could now make some assumptions. So, I could say that this fluid rho 2 is a heavy fluid and it is much greater than rho 1 and air, rho of air. I could also assume that rho 1 is nearly equal to rho of air. suppose I assume these, then essentially I can neglect the pressure because of this air column and because of this air column, and then I would get a very simple result that PA is nearly equal to the atmospheric pressure and simply the difference plus rho 2. So only these two terms survive, G times H3 minus H2. So I can have a very nice device now. I can connect this device to any pressure that I would like to measure. I already know there is an atmospheric pressure, and the difference in the heights of the two column can actually be used to measure the pressure difference. In fact, you can see from this that if I am interested in the gauge pressure, then I can take away the atmospheric pressure, and this is simply rho 2 times G times H3 minus H2. So now we are going to use these equations that we have studied about fluid statics to understand forces on a submerged object. Hydrostatic forces on a submerged object. We are going to assume that there is a free surface. So let's say this is the water level, and there is a certain object which is submerged in this fluid, and we are interested in calculating the force on it. So we can put the axis. So let's say this is the z axis, and maybe I can call this as the x axis. In fact, if this is the atmospheric pressure, then it's easy to see that if I wanted to plot the variation of pressure, then if this is the atmospheric pressure, then I'm going to get a linearly increasing pressure, and P would at any point would be given as P atmosphere minus rho G Z. Notice Z is increasing in this, Z is positive in the upward direction, and therefore I have to account for that when I use this equation. All right. I could also come up with a quantity, if you are more comfortable with H, I could say H is nearly minus Z, and then I could write P as P atmosphere plus rho G H, where H could vary in this direction. So it really depends on the coordinate system that you use. Both are absolutely fine. All right, so our basic aim is to look at the pressure on this submerged object. Now notice that the pressure at different points would be different simply because this height h of the water column is different. Okay. So let me choose a small area. So there is a unit normal, and I could talk about this area dA. This area would have a projection along the x direction and a projection along the z direction. So let me say that this projection, I am going to call this as dAx. similarly, this projection I am going to call this as DAZ. Okay. And now I could talk about the DF, which is the force acting on this little element here because of the fluid static pressure. And that we know is going to be minus rho g h times dA, where this height is h, as I have shown in the diagram. So, if I want to calculate the resultant force, then I would have to integrate it over this entire area, and that would be minus rho g times the integral over the entire surface S times h dA. So, I have simply integrated this equation over the entire area, and this Fr is a vector. So, it has a component along the x direction and it has a component along the z direction. So, I can calculate these individual components. So, Fx, for example, would be the force in the x direction. So, notice rho g remains here, and as far as this integral is concerned, now I can say this is dA dot I. And this would become actually rho g times over the area S h d Ax. Similarly, I could calculate Fz as rho g over h d Az, where these are the projections that I am talking about, Ax and Az in these pictures. Fr, of course, is given as Fxi plus Fzj. It is a vector. What is the physical interpretation? Rather simple. If I want to calculate the force on this object, what is being said is that if I take an elemental area, then notice h dx is simply, this is h, this is dAz. So, if I want to calculate the force in the vertical direction, I take a small element and calculate what is the force exerted by this prism of water, and simply integrate it over the entire length of this object. So, this then becomes essentially the volume of the prism of fluid on the object. And likewise, when I want to calculate the force in the x direction, then I am going to integrate the volume of the prism of this fluid, which I can see in this projection, and effectively the weight of that. Okay. So, that is how I would calculate the submerged, the force on the submerged object. Now, I could also calculate the point of action of resultant. So, the question that I can ask is that suppose this resultant force was acting through a certain point Fr. What is the location of that point on this object? And the way to do that would be that I can take any point and I can take the moment because of this force, and it should be equal to the moment of the force that I get out of this resultant thing of the distributed load. So, I should be able to, for example, take, let us say, this point O and then say that equate the moment about point O due to the resultant force and the pressure force, pretty much like what you do for the center of gravity. So, that here would be known as the center of pressure. I would like you to do this as a home assignment. So, please try this for a flat plate. So, assume that this object is a flat plate and then try to find out what is the point at which this resultant force acts. It is rather simple. If it is a curved object, then you will have to work a little harder.